The IELTS reading test. It feels like it should be the easiest part, but man, is it designed to trip you up. But what if I told you it's not really a language test? What if it's actually a strategy game? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain and uncover the hidden patterns that will help you win. Come on, admit it. You've thought this, right? You walk in, you see a bunch of text, you know how to read English, you think, how hard can this really be? And honestly, it seems like a perfectly reasonable thought. But that thought is a trap. Dead wrong. And that assumption is probably one of the biggest mistakes you can make. See, this test isn't just about reading. It's a test of your strategy, your speed, and most importantly, your ability to keep your cool when the clock is ticking down. That's the real game we're playing here. So, what's the secret to winning? You got to realize that the IELTS test isn't random at all. There's a hidden structure, a predictable map. I like to call it the three-passage ladder, and it's basically your roadmap for the entire journey. It's almost exactly like a video game. Seriously. Passage 1, that's your friendly warm-up, the tutorial level designed to get you settled in. Passage 2 is the strategy checkpoint. This is where the game starts to really test your skills. And Passage 3, well, that's the boss level. Each stage is a step up and requires a totally different approach to beat it. So let's start decoding these passages, shall we? From the easy warm-up all the way to that final boss. Because once you know what's coming, you can stop being afraid. Let's start with Passage 1. Okay, so Passage 1 is basically the test's way of saying, hey, welcome, let's start off nice and easy. As you can see, the text is usually descriptive or just factual. It's probably going to be about a place or a simple process. The language, super straightforward. This is your warm-up lap meant to build your confidence.
But don't get too comfortable. It might feel like a warm-up, but it's already testing a very specific, very core skill you're going to need for the whole test. So what's really being tested here?
It all comes down to pure speed and accuracy. The clock has already started ticking, and the test is asking one simple question. Can you scan this text, ignore all the extra fluff, and find specific facts fast? The goal here isn't deep philosophical understanding. It's just about being an efficient fact finder. All right, time to climb to the next level, Passage 2. This is where the test kind of leans back, crosses its arms, and says, okay, let's see what you've really got. The topics get a bit more complex, comparing social trends or explaining how a company is structured. And you'll definitely notice the language gets trickier, with a lot more paraphrasing thrown in. So the game has changed. It's not just about finding dates and names anymore. So what exactly is the test looking for now? It's a much more sophisticated set of skills. Now, this is where your strategy really has to kick in. Can you see how two different ideas are connected? And can you handle paraphrasing? For example, the text might say something like a significant increase in urban population, but the question will ask about more people moving to cities. It's the same idea, just in different words. And that last point, that's the big one. This is the stage where time becomes your absolute biggest enemy, because hunting for those answers just got a whole lot harder. And here we are, Passage 3, the final boss. Look, it's not meant to be impossible, but it is dense. You're almost guaranteed to face some kind of argumentative, research-based article on a heavy academic topic like psychology or sociology. We're talking long, winding sentences, really abstract ideas, and just so much paraphrasing. So, you're at the end. You're facing the most challenging part of the whole test.
What does it actually take to beat this final boss? What skills do you absolutely need in your toolkit to win?
At this point, it's about so much more than just reading. It's about deep analysis. Can you follow an author's argument as it twists and turns? Can you tell the difference between the author's personal opinion and cold, hard facts? And maybe the most important skill of all, can you do all of that while staying calm under some serious pressure? And this brings us to the single most important secret of the entire test. Are you ready for it? Here it is. You do not need to understand everything in the passage. You only need to understand enough to find the right answers. That's it. Let that sink in for a second because it really does change everything. This leads us right into another huge myth that we need to bust. What actually makes this test so hard? Because the real difficulty of the IELTS reading test, well, it's probably not what you think it is. This is the classic trap, right? We see a tough passage about, I don't know, quantum physics, and our first thought is, oh no, I don't know all these complicated words, I'm doomed. But believe it or not, that is not where the real difficulty lies. So if it's not the fancy vocabulary, what is it? What are the real hidden traps that the test designers have laid out to slow you down and confuse you? The real challenge is in how the ideas are presented. It's about spotting that paraphrased idea, navigating those super long and tangled sentences, wrestling with abstract concepts, and just being able to follow the logical flow of an argument from beginning to end. That's the real mental workout. Okay, so knowing all of this, how should you change your approach? It all comes down to a fundamental shift in your mindset. You have to stop being a passive reader and start being a detective on a case. This is your new mindset. Just look at this comparison. On the left, you've got the book reader. They're just there to enjoy the topic, maybe learn some new facts. But on the right, you have the detective. The detective is on a mission. You're not there to learn about the history of architecture. You are there to locate answers, match meanings, and beat that clock. It's all about being ruthlessly efficient and strategic. And that right there, that's the ultimate goal. Once you understand these hidden patterns, once you know the difficulty levels and the real purpose behind each passage, everything changes. You stop fearing the test and you start controlling it. Suddenly, it's just a predictable game, and you know exactly how to win. So how's this going to change the way you prepare?